Hello everybody and welcome back to the Zesty Raisin. My name is Patrick and today I have a little story that I would like to share with you in the midst of this still evolving COVID-19 crisis. So back in January of 2019, I was working at a resort in South Jersey as a front desk manager. Around that time, I knew that I would not be working at that company long term, and I knew that I would not be living in the state of New Jersey long term simply because I didn't enjoy living in New Jersey. So around that time, I knew that I would be moving back to Florida. I was deciding between either Orlando or Tampa, whichever place would give me more opportunities, but also whichever place I ended up favoring more as I had more time to think about it and to process it. So I ended up having a slight preference towards Tampa over Orlando, and I started applying for jobs, and most of the jobs I was applying for were in the fields of either data analytics or human resources. I have a bachelor's degree in business management and a minor in communication arts, so on paper I do technically have experience in those fields, but according to my actual work experience in terms of what I've done for previous employers, I have no experience in either one of those fields. So long story short, as I started applying for jobs, not as early as January of 2019, but around April and May of 2019, as I knew my time in Jersey was going to come to an end in June, none of the companies that I was applying with got back with me. Not a phone call, not an interview, not an email. Dozens of job applications of which led to absolutely nothing. Because according to these employers, I did not have the experience that they were looking for, because the only experience I had was on paper with a bachelor's degree, which they didn't care much about. So it was extremely frustrating. But anyway, I came down to Tampa with my dad. I ended up driving down here with him from Cincinnati. I went back to Cincinnati for a couple of days because that's where I'm originally from. Drove down to Tampa with my dad, and I interviewed with a few different companies, most of which were in the hospitality industry for hospitality type jobs, not necessarily the jobs that I was looking for at the time, because they had nothing to do with data analysis or with human resources. So anyway, I ended up accepting a job at a Hilton here in Tampa as a front desk agent and a night auditor. So with those two roles came working day shifts as a front desk clerk, so checking guests in, answering phone calls, checking guests out during the day. Usually I work the afternoon shift, so something from like 3 to 11, give or take. But as a night auditor, I also work the overnight shift, so that was an 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. job. So every single week, I would work about 2 or 3 days day shift, and then 2 or 3 days overnight shift. So I was hopping between those two shifts every single week. It wasn't the most ideal of circumstances, and to be completely honest, it was extremely taxing on my physical health, not in terms of as like forming physical ailments or anything, but more just in terms of the fact that it's hard to motivate yourself to get out of bed when your sleep schedule is fluctuating that radically every single week. And it's hard to motivate yourself to get out of bed when you already suffer from sleeping disorders like insomnia. Whether it be beginning of the night insomnia or middle of the night insomnia. Insomnia has been a big issue that I've been dealing with off and on since high school, to be completely honest. So anyway, I was extremely grateful for the job opportunity to work at that hotel, because if it were not for that opportunity, I would not have been able to move to Tampa in the first place. So nothing against the job, but anyway, something crazy just happened. About 2 months ago, in the middle of March, I received a phone call informing me that I would be temporarily laid off from my hotel position simply because of the health crisis and economic crisis of COVID-19. So because occupancy fell down tremendously, there wasn't much of a reason for the hotel to continue staffing as many people as they had staffed. So I was not the only person who was laid off. I was one of many, many people who were laid off. So it was nothing personal, but it was just labeled as a temporary layoff, meaning that once things returned back to normal to some degree or another, there would be a job waiting for me. I initially was actually in a state of like overjoy and excitement and borderline ecstasy for the first couple of days, sort of as a response, like in a state of shock, because now I had all this free time on my hands. So it was like the time leading up to that layoff, my hours were already being cut. So it was actually because of that free time that I ended up officially pursuing this YouTube channel. It was because of that free time when I was officially laid off, when I decided to go out and buy a bicycle. After being laid off for about 2 weeks, I accepted a job with Target, the retail store, working there as a retail clerk. So just kind of looking at how my career has progressed. I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree. Right out of college, I got a manager's position at a resort in New Jersey as a front desk manager. I worked there for a year, moved to Florida, demoted myself essentially from front desk manager to just a front desk agent and a night auditor, got temporarily laid off from my position as a night auditor, and then had to take a retail role. Life was extremely complicated, to say the least, when all that happened. Seeing like the reverse evolution of my career was extremely difficult, but at least I had this job at Target to kind of hold things together during this moment of uncertainty. It was able to help me pay the bills. I was actually making more money at Target than what I was at the Hilton. Not that money is a huge push factor for me, but it was still something. So, so anyway, I started this job at Target as a retail clerk, and I was not expecting to be at Target long term by any means. I thought that like once everything passed over, once the economy returned to normal, once the health crisis kind of went away, I was planning on either returning to the hotel or pursuing new opportunities. Staying at Target was never something that ever crossed my mind. So anyway, let's fast forward about a month. Let's fast forward to the end of April, beginning of May. I was pulled into the human resources office, and I was a little bit scared because about a week before I was pulled into the HR office, I accidentally showed up to work an hour late one day, and I did not call in letting them know that I would be late. The reason why I showed up late is because I just misread my schedule. And keep in mind that right now I'm still considered a seasonal employee for Target. And as a seasonal employee, you can technically be laid off at any time they feel necessary as the season comes to an end, whereas the season starts to dwindle. So right now, being in this COVID-19 era, no one really knows how long the season's going to last. No one really knows how long they need to have all these extra workers, as grocery stores are in much higher demand than they've ever been before, because people can't eat out at all, or they can't eat out as much as they previously could. So I was called to the human resources office, and I was scared to death that I was about to be laid off from 2 jobs within about a month and a half or 2 months of each other. So I went into the human resources office, and the HR manager was kind of doing just a check on me just to see where I was in my headspace and to see where I was in my career, what my long-term goals were. So it was very different from what I was expecting. But I told her everything about my move to Tampa and how basically the last 2 years have played out, and that I really wanted to get into human resources or data analysis, but no company was ever willing to take a chance on me because I didn't have that background in my portfolio, if you will. I didn't have any prior HR experience or prior data analysis experience, so no company was even willing to offer me a job interview. So when she took me into the office, she was more or less thinking along the lines of, how can we work you into a team lead position or a manager's position? Not immediately, but say a month or 2 down the road as things slowly begin to return to normal. That was kind of what she was thinking along the lines of, but then I threw her the curveball of, I really wanted to be in human resources. So to my surprise, a human resources assistant position had just opened up at Target, and she said that she would talk to her fellow managers, like the general manager and the operations manager at Target, and see if I might be eligible for that position. It was a Friday when I was called into the office, when I was called into the HR office, And the following either Monday or Tuesday, I was officially offered the position. So basically, again, let's rewind a little bit. I started as a front desk manager in New Jersey, moved to Florida, took a pay cut as a front desk agent, wanted to be in human resources but couldn't, was laid off from that job, started working at Target as a retail clerk, wanted to be in human resources but couldn't, worked at Target as a retail clerk for a month or so, and then was offered the human resources position that I've been looking for over a year. Sometimes life just works out in the strangest, most mysterious, and most exciting of ways. There's really no way for me to express the joy, the excitement, and the amount of gratitude that I have for this entire series of events, this entire evolution of my career. The fact that I'm finally where I've wanted to be for now close to a year and a half. It's just incredible. So basically, moral of the story, if you are going through rough times right now in your career, in your relationships, in your family, in your friendships, whatever it is, whether they're caused by the COVID-19 crisis or if they were already pre-existing before this crisis even began, but those issues have been made worse because of the crisis. First off, keep in mind this is only temporary. This crisis is not going to last forever. The economy will recover and things will slowly return to some degree of normal, although normal has definitely been shifted. Normal will never be exactly the way it used to be, but we will slowly return back to at least closer to where we were previously than what we are now. So just stay optimistic. Keep talking to people. Don't isolate yourself. Don't shelter yourself off from the world. And unless you're a super duper mega introvert, you're only going to hurt yourself more if you do that. So remain optimistic. Keep talking to people. If you want to use this time as a chance to change your career, keep in mind there are a lot of industries out there that are still hiring people. They might not be the most ideal jobs. I had talked about this in a previous video. Maybe you'll end up taking a retail job for a while or working for Amazon for a while. Those are companies that are definitely hiring people, and they might not be the most ideal positions, but taking a very basic and entry-level job along those lines can lead to much bigger opportunities if it's for a corporation that has opportunities to offer. Just be open to things. Don't take this crisis personally. If you've been laid off, if things are hard for you, don't take it personally. Just realize that a lot of people are going through a lot of things right now, and it's all about how we handle these crises, how we take advantage of these opportunities that are given to us as to how we progress individually as a society, with our career, with our relationships, with our friendships. It's not all on the individual, but so much of it can be on the individual if you choose to make it that way. So as the saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. That's been one of my biggest inspirations of a quote. This entire crisis is what's made me optimistic this entire time. It's what's made me always focus on my goal and progressing my career. So stay zesty, stay smiling, and always keep pushing forward. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, comment down below, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I hope you have a great day.